Howdy folks, welcome back to Grumpy Viking Tactical. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today for you going to be doing a bit of a review on a pair of jungle boots here. And let's do some quick disclaimers before I dive on into the review. First thing is I bought these from a military surplus dealer with my own cash. I have no relations to the military surplus dealer. These are also Rothco brand boots, and I have no relation to Rothco itself. And quickly, before I dive on into the review itself, I want to give a big shout out to the Patreon supporters. They help support the channel through Patreon, giving the channel a bit of a budget, and it does help out with things such as ammunition, equipment, etc. So thank you very much. Next thing is for everyone who supports the channel, likes, comments, watches, the whole 9 yards. I do appreciate that. That does help me out as a growing YouTube channel. And I really do also appreciate that as well. So thank you. But anyway, Rothco jungle boots. That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I was in the service. I enlisted in 2003. My first 2 pair of combat boots were like all, the standard issue, all leather combat boots of the time. I can't even remember the name of the brand off the top of my head. But they were really good, really solid boots. These are a pair of Rothcos, and they're more of a budget boot, but they're made to the U.S. Army specifications of the 3rd generation jungle boots. At the time, these were actually put into service in Vietnam, is when this style jungle boot was put into service. If I remember correctly, it was like 1967, 1968 is when this specific version of the jungle boot was put in service. I really can't remember what the 1st generation looked like. The 2nd generation looked very similar to this. However, they had switched from a cotton canvas to a nylon canvas, and they also got away from the Vibram sole and went to the Panama sole, which is actually designed for it's a more aggressive tread, and it's designed in a way that it actually pushes mud out of the tread as you're walking, giving you more traction on wet, soggy ground. Also, with that being said, unlike the regular issue all leather boots, which I am going to make quite a few comparisons to because those are the boots I have essentially my most experience in, these are not made to keep water out. And these honestly will not keep your feet, well, they'll keep your feet warm up to a certain point, which I'll dive into here in a bit. But essentially, these are actually purposely designed to let water in, and they actually do that. I was on a hike today, and I decided to walk down to one of the local marshes, swamps, if you will, up here at camp where it's a bit swampy, and I was getting water up to my ankle, and yes, it let water through. With that being said, too, though, okay, real quick, folks, with that being said, these boots are also designed to let water out, and these boots actually did an adequate job letting water out of the boots as I walked, as well as they also let air flow. So with that being said, it does help your feet, keep your feet dry. The boots will actually dry on your feet as long as you're not walking in nasty, swampy, muddy ground. Now, I know I'm saying I went for a hike today in the marsh and these boots don't look like it, but I cleaned these boots up before I decided to do the video. Now, they do need a bit of polish here, and that's because I don't have my boot polish kit up here. These will get polished when I get home. Now, that's the other thing about these boots. The way the leather is made, the leather is a dyed leather, and it's made kind of with a cheap way, with a cheap finish, and that's not just these Rothco boots. That's the jungle boots in general. And essentially what you have to do is you have to clean them, you have to maintain them, you have to polish them. And that's the big one. You got to polish them so the leather doesn't rot. That's no big deal. If you've been in the service and you're used to polishing shoes and boots all the time, you just kind of know how to do that. And if you want to get yourself some additional familiarity with the whole process of polishing the boots and maintaining the boots, I actually do have a video on my channel here about that. Now the next thing I want to cover is with the laces. I actually did replace the laces. These are actually a nylon paracord lace. These are actually U.S. Marine Corps mil-spec laces. These are not the laces that came with the boots. I personally felt that the laces were too small that came with the boots. I like being able to pull my laces up and being able to wrap them around and then tie them off just to get that good tight seal around my calf. It helps prevent from stuff like ticks and that from getting up your pant legs. So I feel it's a more secure way having the longer laces. And if anybody does go out there and get a pair of these, I actually do recommend getting a pair of longer laces and getting a pair of actually laces much longer than what is required for these boots. That's just my experience. Now the next thing is I want to talk about the ankle support because I feel that's kind of important. These don't have the ankle support that the all leather combat boot has. Let me put this off to the side and I can show you a bit about what you have. Is you have a extra strip of canvas here, and you also have an extra strip of canvas here, and that provides support so the boot doesn't come apart, the canvas doesn't tear, things of that nature. But realistically, it doesn't provide much in the way of ankle support. You will not really get ankle support in these boots. So basically, when you're walking, you need to make sure you plant your feet really good on the ground. So these are a bit of a different kind of boot to walk in. When it comes to the finish quality of the boots, it's okay, but it definitely could be better. But that being said, it is a budget boot. With a higher end boot, you're going to find that the finish quality is going to be better. Both the boots, you're not probably really going to be able to see it, but you can see some threading here. And what it is it's from this strip here, and it's sewn in. And that finish quality there is actually not very good. That being said, still holding up to abuse. I've been wearing these for several months. I've taken a lot of steps in them. These are well broken in. Another thing I want to point out, and this is kind of a complaint I've seen with some people, is when it comes to these boots, these do not hold up to walking around on concrete very well. The soles will wear out very quickly. Disclaimer, they are called a jungle boot. So there you go. I think that pretty much explains everything right there. These are not designed for stomping around on concrete all day long. These are designed for walking around out in the woods. They're designed for walking around in a jungle, you know, where the ground is soft. They're not designed for walking around concrete. So if you're looking for like a work boot, I would honestly veer away from these boots. Next thing, when it comes to the sizing of these boots, you want to order a size smaller than what you actually need, such as I normally wear a 14. These are actually a 13, and these fit perfect. Also, on cold days, I want to throw this out there. On cold days, if you're wearing these boots because of how they are designed, a bit ago I said about airflow. Air is allowed to flow in these boots. You know, they don't really provide any warmth, which is fine. Just be aware that if you're wearing them on a colder day, you're probably going to want to wear either 2 pairs of socks or a thicker pair of wool socks, anything along those lines. And that being said, that's actually what these boots are designed for. They're designed for wearing a thick pair of socks. Next thing about these boots, I mean, they don't have an insole in them. Now, I just put in regular work boot insoles, and it's working just fine. Now, the heel area on the inside of the boot has a bit of padding. That's only the only area that's got padding. The Jungle Boots actually has a pair of, they're supposed to have a pair of insoles, special insoles that acts like bellows, if you will. So as you walk, it forces more air out of the boot and essentially pushes more water out of the boot. I don't have those. I just went with regular standard work boot insoles, and they've been working just fine. There is some padding in certain areas, especially like in here on the inside of the boot as well. That adds some support. Basically, it just prevents from chafing and stuff like that. The vents, there's 2 vents here. on each boot, just on the inside here of the foot, and that's actually where any airflow and water comes through. With that being said, these boots have actually held up really good to abuse. They actually have not really scuffed up all that bad, not really at all, to be honest. And they actually do hold shoe polish actually rather well. I've actually been wearing these every day for the past week within a combination of hunting and the whole 9 yards. As well, as I said, I've been wearing these out to the range as well. So the leather does hold polish pretty well. I can still feel there's a little bit of polish on there, but it's kind of, yeah, they need more polish. Finally, the last thing I would say about with these boots, because of the aggressive tread, especially in the heel area, stones, sticks, so on and so forth will get stuck up in those spots if they're just the right size. But usually they'll come out as you walk, or you can just, you know, pick it out with your thumb or whatever. So that being said, $40 budget combat boot. These don't have the spike protection, which helps make them a cheaper boot as well. If you're really concerned with absolute top shelf finish quality, these are not the boot for you, to be honest. If you're looking for a budget boot to wear out in the woods, to wear hiking, stuff of that nature, these boots are actually pretty good for that. They've been good to me, to be honest. They've kept my feet dry, especially on hot, and it's actually nice wearing these on hot days, because like the normal all leather combat boot, those boots get really hot on the really hot days, and these actually have been keeping my feet fairly cool on those hotter days, so I can appreciate little things like that. So for a spring, summertime boot, even early fall, these boots I feel are great. If you're looking for like a cold weather boot, if you want to wear some in the fall or wear some for deer season, in like November, in the winter, yeah, I would also ignore these as well. But like I said, as a jungle boot without the spike protection, yeah, they've been doing a great job, and honestly, I recommend them. I can't complain with the overall quality, because the quality is actually really not bad for a mil-spec boot. It could be better, but it's not bad, and they've been holding up to the abuse I've been putting them through so far. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. I think they're a good boot, and I'd say these are good to go if you're looking for a budget, I would say a budget tactical boot. But anyway, folks, I'm going to wrap the video up at that. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have yourself a wonderful day.